That I'm a direct response copywriter. I started out in regular advertising. I worked for David Ogilvy's ad agency. If you look at it from an evolutionary point of view, people are interested or they're attracted to things that are change, right? They're different. Howard Gossage said people read what they're interested in, and sometimes it's an advertisement. They just don't want to hear about the benefits of my product. There's a million products out there. Why do they want to hear about the benefits of my product? People like that. They want to be entertained. We all want to be.
David Deutsch, copywriter há 4 décadas.
E treinado pelo lendário David Ogilvy.
Ao todo, ajudou a gerar mais de $1 bilhão em vendas para os seus clientes.
I assume that in your copy process, the very first thing that you do is research, right?
Well, the very first thing I do is try to come up with some ideas. Sometimes knowing too much can bog you down a little bit, right?
That's really interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Quickest way to be a better copywriter is to learn screenwriting, because that's how you learn how to show and not tell. So much of what we do today is screenwriting. We're writing for the screen. We're writing for VSLs. We're doing videos.
So it's like double the efficiency of the copy.
I think it's multiplied.
Do you think that in your sales message, you have like other places that you can add things to create like another level of exponential or...
Oh yeah, always.
Fala pessoal, sejam bem-vindos a mais um episódio do podcast Segredos da Escala, que é o podcast do VTurb. Caso tu não conheça o podcast Segredos da Escala, a gente traz pessoas aqui que já escalaram suas ofertas, já escalaram seus negócios, para que tu que tá em casa assistindo aqui o podcast consiga pegar 1, 2, às vezes 3 dicas, caso, na hipótese do podcast ser bom, aplicar no teu negócio e escalar ele também. Esse podcast aqui, ele foi criado pelo VTurb, que é uma empresa que eu fundei, e se tu não conhece o VTurb, nós somos uma hospedagem de vídeos 100% focada em vídeos de vendas. Então, se tu tem um vídeo de vendas, tu precisa hospedar ele no VTurb, o teu vídeo vai vender muito mais do que se tivesse hospedado em qualquer outro lugar, não só do Brasil, tá? Mas do mundo. E é por isso que hoje as maiores empresas do mundo de marketing direto usam o VTurb e confiam na nossa tecnologia, que é uma tecnologia brasileira, para aumentar a conversão dos seus vídeos de vendas. Então, se tu ainda não é cliente do VTurb e gostaria de testar, tem esse QR Code aí na tela que tu vai ter 14 dias de graça para testar o VTurb, sem falar também em 15% de desconto durante 2 meses, assim que tu se tornar cliente. Ou então é só clicar no primeiro link aí da descrição aqui desse podcast, que também vai estar lá essa promoção, beleza? Mas agora, sem mais delongas, bora pro nosso episódio. So, David, thank you so much for being here. It's really amazing to be talking to you, interviewing you in my podcast. Because you were one of the first copywriters that I saw that were like famous in the direct response space. I saw Brian Kurtz talking about you, John Calto talking about you, and I learned copy from all these guys. So I just wanted to say thank you for being here. It's really an honor to have you here. And I'm actually trying to bring Gary Bensivenga here too, but it's pretty hard to bring him. So yeah, maybe I'll do it. But for the few people that don't know you like I do, could you please just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you have done in the past, and what you're doing right now, so these people can, get to know you a little bit better?
Oh, I was hoping you were going to tell me about me, so I could hear good stuff. Like you said, I'm a direct response copywriter. I started out in regular advertising. I worked for David Ogilvy's ad agency.
That's amazing.
Back in the days when he was still there. So right on Madison Avenue, and you really learn about how to dramatize things, right? How to get people excited, how to use humor, how to use drama, how to use slice of life, how to be witty in copy, right?
Yeah.
It was very first class advertising. And David Ogilvy was also a great believer in direct response. He called direct mail his first love and his secret weapon.
Yeah.
So at a very young age, I was kind of brought up in that. He told people to read Hopkins and read Caples. So I went from advertising world. I worked for some ad agencies. Then I discovered Jay Abraham, and I discovered the world of direct response and started writing for some of the big direct response mailers like Boardroom and Rodale and, the big supplement companies and publishers.
Yeah.
And now I still do some writing. I do mainly coaching. I work with writers. I work with companies to help them get the most out of their writers. I work a lot with company owners, and marketing people that want to write their own copy.
Yeah, people
Um,
that need improvement in copy, that kind of stuff.
yeah, well, I always think that people that run companies are the best people to write their own copy because they have
Yeah.
the passion and they have the knowledge. And when it comes from them, it's so authoritative.
Mm,
And it's relatively easy to learn how to write, if you
yeah.
just have the right mindsets.
Yeah.
It's not, I always like to say it's not a matter of memorizing a lot of things. It's a matter of just thinking about writing differently.
Why do you think that these things that you learn at Ogilvy, for example, how to do drama, how to add humor, and also this last thing that you say that a founder has like this passion, why do you think that these elements are important when it comes to writing copy? Why it can't just be like formulaic where you just put like some benefits, some proof over there and just to try to uh, avoid the
Yeah.
objections and handle the objections so you can get to the sale?
Well, I think the problem is that people aren't interested in that, right? Howard Gossage said people read what they're interested in, and sometimes it's an advertisement, right? They just don't want to hear about the benefits of my product. There's a million products out there. Why do they want to hear about the benefits of my product, right?
Yeah.
Why do they want to hear about my overcoming their objections? I think you have to look at what people are interested in, right? They're interested in what's on Netflix. They're interested in movies and books and Harry Potter and things that have story and drama. They're interested in people who have wit and are funny. Not funny, but they're interesting and the writing is playful.
Yes.
People like that. They want to be entertained. We all want to be. I mean, I'm not saying people like, oh, those people, they just want entertainment. Like I want entertainment.
Yeah, me too.
I don't listen to boring things when I have free time, right?
Yeah.
I watch Netflix and I watch, The Sopranos or Breaking Bad or, the movies, interesting movies.
Do you think there
Um,
is some sort of balance between like keeping it interesting and also keeping it like focused on the sale? Or do you think that
well,
maybe
yeah,
50
sure.
50 or
Sure. You can't just be entertaining, right?
yeah,
Um, so you've got to be able to tie. I think ultimately there is where it comes into tying into what people really want and really desire. And sometimes it's not easy to know that. We think we know that, like, oh, the people just want a lot of money, right? Well, maybe
yes,
they don't. Maybe why do they want money? Money's just piles of green stuff. Money's just numbers, right? In the computer, in a bank account. What they really want is to prove themselves. They really want to be seen as good providers. Obviously, they want the things money can buy, but they also want the security and the being looked up to and being
yes,
loved. And, that's why sometimes you have to just dig a little deeper than, oh, people want more money or people want to cure whatever
yes,
arthritis or whatever they have wrong with them.
yes,
People, I mean, they do want their pain to go away, but they want their pain to go away because not just because of the pain, but also because they're embarrassed by not being able to do things. And it reminds them of their own mortality. And because they're worried about being incapacitated or lose their independence, right?
yes,
They're kind of being put in a nursing home kind of
yes.
thing.
David,
And
this is like
yes,
more of a psychological thing that you're saying right now. It makes total sense because before we actually write the copy, we need to know all this kind of stuff. What do they want? Why do they want it? So we can express that in our sales message. So I assume that in your copy process, the very first thing that you do is research, right?
well, the very first thing I do is try to come up with some ideas because I kind of like coming up with ideas before anything else, just to see. Because sometimes before you know too much, you can come up with better ideas. And
Mm.
then when you find things out, you can kind of move the ideas a little bit or tweak them or whatever. But sometimes knowing too much can bog you down a little bit, right?
That's really interesting. I never thought of it that way. But what kind of ideas? You mean like headlines or
Yeah,
offers or
headlines
everything?
or yeah, ways of framing the product, ways of positioning the product, ways of talking about the product. I think
So
ultimately we're always just talking about ways of talking about things, right? How do
yes,
you how do you broach something to someone? How do you get someone interested in something, right?
yes,
Um, if I want to get you interested in, um, let's say there's something that can save you a new software, right? That
yeah,
can, or your software, right? Like, that helps people um, get their VSLs better, right? How do I
yes,
get someone interested in that, right? I have to think about, it's not just, oh, it works better when you do it like this, right? I have to think about, well, what's their pain, right? Not getting enough views, not getting enough customers, doing a VSL and seeing it not get as much engagement as they would like it to get, the
yes,
frustration of that. And so I might start out by talking to them and saying, look, does that frustrate you when you do a VSL? Do you ever wonder why it's not getting that much engagement? And I might talk to them first about some of the things that are preventing them from getting that engagement that they want to get, and then say, hey, did you know there's a product that can help with those things?
yes. Just so I can see that I understand it clearly. So you actually try to come up with some ideas just by looking at the product. So you think, hey, this product, I could create a headline like this. I could, for example,
Right.
talk about this product in this specific way, which will make it more interesting. And after that, you go also talk to the actual customers, the actual prospects. So you
Yeah.
get their feedback on what is going on, if the ideas are okay, on what do they think about the problem, how do they see, what do they believe about the problem. So that's what you do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the most important thing is to get to a deeper level, right?
Yes.
I think that the best copywriters have a deeper, like if you ever talk to Dan Kennedy or John Carlton, right? They've got sort of, I wouldn't call it a jaded attitude about people, but they kind of have the same attitude about people that policemen do, that have seen things, right? You know what I mean? Like policemen have seen how people really are. They see things we don't see. And
Yes.
people like John Carlton and Dan Kennedy are kind of like that, right? They see how people really are. And I think you want to get to what people feel below the level of the surface that most people find out about, right? Like you say, oh, why do you want this? Oh, I want it because blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. They want it because blah, 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 blah. But it's not enough. You got to dig beneath that. Well, why do you want a blah, 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 right?
Yes.
What's behind that, right?
But what do you think is the best way to find these like emotional reasons that people want something? Because sometimes the truth is that they are embarrassed by it most of the times,
Sure.
so they will not tell you face to face. Do you have some sort of research that you go to find these very
Yeah.
like deep elements?
Well, there's a lot of ways, right? Um, one is just to eavesdrop on conversations on, forums, on Reddit, on Quora,
Yeah,
in groups. Like, what do people talk about? Amazon reviews. People can be very frank on these things, right? Another research technique is to anonymize things, right? Make it anonymous so people can respond anonymously. They
yes,
don't, there's no way of knowing who they are that's saying this embarrassing thing about themselves, right?
yes, yes.
Um, so that's another way to do it. And another way is just to probe people, like a good psychiatrist or a good psychologist, and just why? Why do you, what's behind that, right?
Yeah,
People will tell you things if you talk and listen empathetically to
got it.
them. But
There-
it takes time. Sometimes it means like taking them out for a drink. You know what I mean? Can't just
yes,
be like a 15-minute phone interview.
yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
you gotta like spend a day with people.
The
Um,
advantage that I have here at Viterb is that I was actually my own customer. I was actually an advertiser for 7 years, so
right?
that's like a really good advantage for me. But when I was a direct response copywriter, when I was like writing almost every day, my favorite research tool was actually just go to Amazon and then search books that my prospect wrote about the problem. And it's crazy that they actually do it. There's a book called Face It, What Women Really Feel Has Their Looks Changed. That's on Amazon. And it's amazing because it's actually a woman that got older and she wanted to become young again. And she was just telling how it feels to become old and see your skin sagging and all that kind of. But she talked both about like the actual problems and the emotional problems too. So that's a really good tip that I would like to give the audience since we're
That's
talking
great.
about research.
Yeah. I mean,
There is
today,
also
I was just going to say, today, it's so amazing. You can Google what are the things that people with arthritis wish other people knew that they don't, right?
yeah.
What do people with diabetes wish other people knew about diabetes? What do people who are overweight wish other people knew about being overweight? Yeah, I wish they knew it wasn't my fault. I wish I knew that they knew it's not that easy. I wish they knew how embarrassing it is to be overweight and people always feel people are judging you, right? Those are the kinds of things you want to, you want to get to.
Yes. After you have these ideas, David, let's say that you can actually create like a perfect research that tells you what do they want, why do they want it, the real deep emotional reasons, what have they tried in the past. You have all these infos that you know. What is the next step that you take when you're going to create like a sales message?
Well, I think then you start, I mean, I like to just talk to people, right? Something I learned from Gary Halbert. Gary Halbert would spend 3/4 of the time working on a project, talking to people about whatever he was working on, right? Go out on his boat and he'd talk to people. He'd go to bars and talk to people. And because when you talk to people, you can see whether your presumptions, your assumptions, your hypotheses are true or not, right? Well, I think this is going to be interesting to people. So then you start talking to people about it and you see either their eyes glaze over, they're not interested, or you see, oh, they are interested. They're leaning in. They want to know more. And you can do that with friends. You can do that with people that you meet casually. You can try to sell them on the product. You can try to sell them on here, like, hey, I'm working on this interesting thing, right? It's the software that enables you to,
Yes.
it's a platform and you run your VSL on it and you do it. And if people say, oh yeah, I've heard about a million of those things. Well, that's a pretty valuable thing to find out. Now we have to differentiate you
Yeah.
from all those other ones they've heard of.
Yeah, of
Or if they
course.
say,
Yeah.
oh, that's just like putting it, what's that platform that you can put it on that
Like
hosts?
like YouTube, Vimeo, Wistia,
Yeah, like a Vimeo
Vidalitics.
or the one that does a lot of metrics.
I think it's maybe Vidalitics or
Yeah, one of those things where
yeah.
it hosts it, you get, I have to be careful that people will confuse it with that,
Yeah, of course.
right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
But this
so
is still part of research, right?
this is just it's part of research, it's part of writing,
Ah,
actually.
okay.
Because you're
Okay.
kind of writing in your head, except you're talking it. Like, what's the difference? Right? It's words,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Then you do the word, then you go home, you write the words,
Yeah.
the words that worked,
Yes.
right? Or
But
at least,
that's something that you actually do when you're like in every project that you do. You first research, then you go talk to people, just like Gary Halbert told you. Then you get all this information in your head, and then you start to create your actual sales pitch in your head. So then you do just
you
like
know that
later make peace and type it all out from one
I don't know that I
sitting.
create the sales letter in my head. I know that it works to talk about it in this way.
Got it.
Right.
Got
I've
it.
got to kind of frame it in this way. You know how like you talk to people, right? If you talk to your wife, you talk to your partner, you talk to whoever you talk to, like, okay, if I'm going to talk to this person, I got to kind of frame it like this, right? If I talk to this person, I frame it a little differently, right?
Yes.
So it's the same thing. It's like you learn how to frame it. You learn, okay, I shouldn't say what it is too quickly, or I should say, it's like this, right? This is like having, a little guy with a pencil, like, looking at everything and writing down the statistics and then testing as you go along, right? It's kind of like a test as you go. Maybe that's a good analogy, right?
Yes.
But you try it out in talking to people and you see they understand that. Or, I don't understand what that means. What do you mean? Is there a little guy in the computer? I say, oh, okay, I guess that's confusing.
Got it. But David, do you like when you're thinking about your sales message, you think like you try to build the whole sales letter in your head, like this is how I'm going to get attention.
No,
this is how I'm going to.
I've got the pitch. You know what I mean by pitch?
You mean the offer?
Yeah, kind of like if you had
like the elevator pitch
to sell something. Yeah. What would you say? Like, that's what I want to get.
Okay.
I want to get, how do I get their attention? How do I tell them about it? How do I make them want it?
Okay. So, right? And then from this pitch, which could be maybe, I don't know, 3 sentences or something, it includes all the main ideas that you're going to use to sell people. And then all you do later.
Not necessarily. The ideas spin themselves out. But if I can't sell it to you in person in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, right? How can I write about it? How can I sell it by writing about it? Right? The only way people can do that is they use copywriting tricks and little, formulas and templates. And, it sounds like that sort of thing. But if you can't sell it, if you don't have the understanding and the passion, and a lot of it is just understanding, right?
Yes.
I mean, I couldn't sell your product until I really understood much better what it does, right?
Yeah.
And when you've got that, and so many times I work with people and they're trying to sell something that lowers your blood pressure, and they have no idea, they have a vague idea of how blood pressure works, but they really don't know. And they don't know how blood pressure drugs work, and they don't know the side effect of blood pressure drugs, right? And they don't know exactly how the supplement they're trying to sell works.
Got it.
So the copy sounds vague, and it sounds like someone wrote it just from, copywriting brief.
Yeah, of course. Pessoal, antes de seguir com o episódio aqui de Segredos da Escala, dá uma olhada nisso aí que vai aparecer na tela. Isso significa que 58% de vocês aí que assistem esse canal ainda não são inscritos. Esse número já foi bem maior, então eu fico feliz, tá, que a gente está progredindo. Porém, a nossa meta é chegar em apenas 50%. Então, se tu gosta do podcast, tu quer apoiar a gente de alguma forma, cara, clica aqui embaixo e se inscreve. Isso ajuda a gente bastante, porque o nosso conteúdo ele consegue entregar para mais pessoas, a gente consegue crescer como canal. E aí eu consigo trazer o convidado que tu quer que eu traga e fazer as perguntas que tu quer que eu faça. Então, clica aqui embaixo e se inscreve no canal do VTurb, beleza? Obrigadão. David, let me ask you something. Do you know, I don't know if you're going to know it. It's a new book and it's by a Brazilian. The name of the book is The 16 Words Sales Letter. It's by Evaldo Albuquerque.
I know Evaldo, sure.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I've heard of it. Yeah, sure. I've read it. I know Evaldo. Actually, Evaldo studied with me for a little while.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love Evaldo. He's a great guy. What a worker.
Yeah, I think he's the best of us when it comes to copywriting.
Amazing writer, and he works so hard.
Yeah, awesome. I'm trying to get him on the podcast, but he really doesn't want to do it. And yeah, but I'm trying. I'm giving my best.
He's too busy making money,
Yeah, exactly. So in his book, The 16 Word Sales Letter, he talks about something that he calls the one belief. It's like a phrase, and then this phrase, it's like a template that goes like this. This new opportunity is the key to achieving this desire, and it is only possible through this unique mechanism. This is like the one belief template, and then he says that the first thing that he does when he's going to create a sales message is to think about this phrase, this one belief, because he wants people to believe in this, because if they believe, they are ready to be sold the product which contains the unique mechanism. So when you said, I have the page, I think about the page. When I'm writing, I really think about this one belief. Hey, you need to do this. You need to, for example, make your metabolism go faster to lose weight. And the only way to do this is through this unique mechanism, like green coffee or something. I don't know. So When I'm doing my research, I'm always trying to find this one belief that my prospect will actually believe. So it needs to be like a believable one belief.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do you think that this thing is the same thing as the pitch that you're talking about, or do you think that these are
Sure.
different things?
Yeah. No, I think it's all the same thing in a way, right?
Got
It's
it.
like, what is that person, Evaldo looks at it through belief, which is great. That's a great lens to look at it through. What does this person have to believe? I sort of look at it as, what do I have to say to this person that's going to get them interested, get their attention, keep them interested, and get them to want the product, right? And when I can talk to them about it in a way that does that, without them rolling their eyes, without them laughing, without them saying, "Oh, don't be a copywriter trying to sell me things," right? But they're sincere. They sincerely want it, right? Like, "Oh, can you get me that?" I mean, that's always the best thing, right? So Gary
Yeah.
Halbert always used to say, "I don't want them to say, 'Oh, that's great writing, that's great, that's a great pitch.' I want them to say, 'Can you get me that? Do you have access to that?'"
Yeah, that's awesome, of course. Do you have some sort of way to organize this pitch that you're creating in your head? Like, for example,
You're such an engineer, and I'm such a non-engineer. Like, do you have a 5-step process that you? No, I just
yeah,
go
I
talk to
am, I am.
people. I go talk to people, and when I can talk to people and convince them to want what I'm selling, I go home and write you know what I mean?
Got it,
I mean,
got it.
a lot of it's over the phone, but it's that's kind of the thing, right? When I've got that in my head, you know, then I go write it. And it's easy to write when you can do that, because it's
Yeah,
just like talking to someone for an hour. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you about, do I
no,
have a
no.
process?
David, please, your job here is to interrupt me
Okay.
and give me content. That's your job.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're completely right. I really like systems. And do you know Stefan George? You
Sure.
probably, yeah. So he
Yeah.
has that copywriting method, the RMBC, and I really
Yes.
like that because it's very step by step. So to me, that I'm not like a very good copywriter. It's easy to follow. It gets results. So that's why I do it. But I think
Yeah.
that the highest level in copy is to actually do that you're actually saying, is to go talk to people, learn how they think, how you should frame your message, try to sell them. After you have the formula, you just multiply it to media, right? And then
Yes.
that's it. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's a great formula. It's a great skeleton to write a letter around, right? But how do you put the flesh on that skeleton? Right?
Yes.
I think too many people just sort of use the skeleton, use the framework, and don't know really how to put the most powerful copy on top of that.
Yeah.
So it tends to sound formulaic. It tends to sound like the sort of thing you read all the time. It doesn't have that power behind
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. One thing that I recommend people when they are just starting out writing copy, I teach that there are like two things that you need to know when you're going to create some sort of marketing message. The first one is the psychology, which is the ideas that are going to convert someone. And the second thing is the communication, which is how to present these ideas in a way that will look valuable, so they will get to see it, in a way that is not boring, which is like the actual communication, the actual copy.
Yeah.
So what I recommend is that people really do the research and find the psychology. Like they need to know what the prospect has heard before, what do they want, and all that kind of stuff. And after they have this psychology, a really good psychology, then they don't need to actually write the copy. They can just grab copy from your swipe file because it's already good copy, and then you can just use this to create like to add your psychology to it, so you can create like some sort of a good sales letter without like being a master of writing. Do you think that's a good idea, David, or do you think that that's like some bad thing, some lazy copy stuff? I don't know.
A little bit. I'm not sure I understand exactly what you mean. I mean, you say swipe it word for word, or swipe kind of the general format of it and the general idea.
The general format, yeah, not the idea. The idea we will actually do our research and get it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So, for
Yeah, I
example,
mean,
there was a advertorial written a long time ago, and the headline was Atlanta housewife investigated and almost arrested for losing 63 pounds. That was a really good advertorial.
wow.
I really like it. Do you remember it?
it sounds it sounds like a Gary Halbert headline, but I'm sure
Yeah.
it's more modern than that. But
Yeah.
no, I haven't heard of that before. It's a great headline.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then I got this idea, and then I used this to create a advertorial on the internet,
Right.
like some years ago. And so that's what I'm talking about, like combining these old ideas
Yeah.
to use today in newer formats. I think that's a very good thing that people can do to get results.
No, I agree, especially if you can really see what's behind it. Like what's behind that, right? This idea that Atlanta housewife almost arrested for losing 63 pounds, right?
Yes.
It's a very subtle way of saying that someone lost 63 pounds without saying, oh, look, this person lost 63 pounds, right? You're kind of hiding it a little behind, she's almost arrested. So now we've got someone's interest.
Yes.
I want to know why she almost got arrested. And I also kind of want to know how she lost 63 pounds and why did she
Yes.
get arrested doing it?
Yeah, the
And
way I see it is that you have like two reasons to read it. The first one
yes,
is why did she lost weight, and the second, okay, why did she got arrested, almost arrested? If you just go to some like benefit copy, how to lose weight, you only have one reason to read. So it's like double the efficiency of the copy. Let's say, I don't know, if you add like this, as
yeah,
John Calton say, these incongruent sales elements.
yes. I think it's not just double. I think it's multiplied, right? Because when you've got those two things together, it becomes something new and different,
Yeah.
you know? Like they don't just add, they kind of multiply together to make like an explosion, if that makes, like a nuclear explosion when you put the
Yeah.
plutonium together and it,
Yeah, no, it
it,
makes
it
completely sense. Yeah, if you add like a third dimension to it, the results can be really exponential. Do you think
yeah.
that in your sales message you have like other places that you can add things to create like another level of exponential or
Oh yeah, always. I think that's all we do to some extent
Mm,
is how do we make this not be ordinary? How do we make this extraordinary? How do we make this interesting? Right? Um, every sentence can be more interesting, right? Sometimes sentences are so predictable, right? This happened and this happened and this happened and this happened and this and this. And how do you make it? I don't know if you know who Dave Barry is.
David Barry?
Barry Barry is like a humorist.
No, this one
And
I only know Kevin Hart.
oh, well, even Kevin Hart or any comedian, right? I mean, stand-up comedy is a great thing to study if you're a copywriter because they will say things, right? And they will say, blah, 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 blah. And then the third thing makes it explode, right? So how do you do that in your copy? How do you say things where the person reading it, okay, the next thing, and they expect it to be something, and then, but you totally flip that
Yeah,
expectation, right? And so they get a little hit of dopamine. They get a little bit of excitement, like, oh, this is fun. This is interesting, right? Just like you do with a comedian, right? You go along with Kevin Hart for the ride because you don't know what he's going to say next. You think you know, and then he pulls the rug out from under you.
yeah. Do you have some research that people can learn how to actually do this kind of like high level writing? I believe that my writing is very boring. Like I just
Right.
go straight out of it, just say what I'm going to say. I try to make it interesting, but it's definitely not like a comedian level. So yeah, do you have some research that people can see and can read or study to learn how, or at least to begin their learning journey to do this, to write like this?
I think you want to study writing that interests you, right? study, you know, study any kind of writing that interests you, right? Study why is Harry Potter interesting, right? Why are classic novels interesting? Why is the opening of, I don't know if you know the book, Tale of Two Cities by Dickens.
No, never
Oh,
heard
it's
of
got a
it.
very famous opening. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was a time of peace. It was a time of violence. It was a time of plenty. It was the time of want. It was a time of beauty. It was the time of ugliness. And that opening is so hypnotic. And what he does is, if you study it, you see he uses contrast, right? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Oh, that's it. It was the time of beauty. It was the time of ugliness. And he does it and it just hypnotizes you. But those sorts of things, people are interested in, if you look at it from an evolutionary point of view, people are interested in things, or they're attracted to things that are change, right? They're different. Because when we were on the savannah in Africa or wherever it was, and there were lions and tigers and saber-toothed tigers, if something was different, it might be because there was a tiger there and he was going to kill us,
Yeah,
or might be because the other tribe was planning an attack, right? Or it might be someone was sneaking up behind me to kill me, right? So we're very attuned to things that are different. So what's interesting to people is things that are different. Harry Potter is a different world, right? Um, whenever there's change, right? Direct response is dead. This is what's happening now. Ooh, I better read this,
yeah,
right?
yes.
Internet is dead. This is the internet 3.0. This is the new thing, right? Um,
David,
yes.
just a question about this. From what from what I understood, you need to study writing that interests you, because this writing, you actually know why it interests you, and then you'll be able to write stuff that is going to interest other people too. For example, Harry Potter, that kind of stuff, right? But when someone is reading the copy, each person will think that something is interesting because they just like some certain type of writing. So do you think that a copywriter has to have like his own unique style that he writes that is like some like interesting for most kinds of people?
I don't
Or do you
know.
think
I,
that
I
they
mean,
should like adapt and have like a different style for each niche that he's going to write to? Don't know if you understood the question.
I think most copywriters have a style that they're comfortable with.
Got it.
Like Dan Kennedy is kind of a grouchy, stern parent, right? And at the same time makes you feel good about being an entrepreneur. Like, hey, nobody understands us, right? We're like that. And he makes the writing fun, right? He's doing something like Wild West conference. We're gonna shoot up profits and lasso, sales or whatever it is, right? Or like he's always kind of doing that, making it fun. Um, John Carlton's got that, kind of ballsy, tough guy kind of copy that he does for golf and for, self-defense.
Yeah.
Gary Bencivenga's got very likable copy, right? It's very gentle. You like the person, right? Um, and Gary Halbert has very likable, simple, right? He just sounds like a guy you want to have a beer with because,
Yeah.
and he used to talk. When I first talked to Gary, he sounded just like his copy. It was very, it was
Yeah.
interesting. So I think you want to find what works for you. I don't think you have to be different for every niche. I mean, I think, like I'm a little funny in my copy. I'm pretty clever, in terms of plays on words and things. So I use that a lot. Um, Other people, Dan Kennedy, is more pushes your buttons, you know,
Yeah.
makes you feel guilty, makes you want something, makes you feel like if you don't buy this thing, you're not going to be successful, gets you a little angry at the forces that are lined up against you. It's very emotional.
Yeah.
Uh, He's very interesting in his own way. He brings in current events. Um,
Can
so
we
go ahead.
can we say then that the copy that you write, it's actually is ultimately an expression of your own personality?
Not necessarily, because I think John Carlton said to me once, he said, Dave, you don't have to write in your own voice. You don't have to sound like you sound like. I mean, Dan Kennedy, he is a little bit gruff, but his voice in his copy is almost an exaggerated version of that, right? Almost a cartoon kind of, same thing with other people. They're almost kind of cartoon versions of
Yeah.
themselves till you
Yeah.
get something like, remember the rich jerk? Are you
Mm,
familiar with that?
yeah, it was like a content creator, right?
Yeah,
Like a
he was
meme.
like he had a course on how to get
Yeah.
rich.
Okay,
And
I know, yeah.
instead of being like, oh, I know I'm just like you. I was poor once, and now I'm a humble guy that wants to show you. He was like, look, I'm rich. You're not. I can help you get rich. Maybe you think I'm being a jerk. Too bad. I'll tell
Yeah.
you what and he was so obnoxious that it became very interesting, and it was a very interesting persona. But I don't know. I mean, I learned to be interesting in writing largely by having Jim Rutz kind of slap me around and say, stop it, stop being so boring. You know what I mean? That's kind of
Yeah.
what people need. They just need, like, stop it. Just, try it again. You're right. Um, that's how John Carlton talks about the first time he wrote copy for Gary Halbert. Gary Halbert threw it up, rolled it into a ball, and threw it away like 15 times. Right?
Yeah.
Said, no, that's not it. Stop, be more empathetic, be more interesting, whatever. And it's the same sort of thing. You just kind of need someone to say, no, not like that. You're putting me to sleep,
Do you
right? Try
think
again.
that
And then you find it in yourself because we're all interesting, right? We all have that spot, but we're so used to writing boring copy for school and for, all our lives. We don't know how to do that.
yeah, of
But we
course.
do know, because we're interesting in person, right? Like you're an interesting guy to talk to.
Thank you.
So you just have to kind of get in touch with that in your
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah. Do you think there's a way to do that without having like some Gene Rutz to slap you, or some Gary Halbert or John Carlton?
Well,
Because
Gary
the
Halbert would
truth,
never slap you, but John Carlton might.
well, because the truth is that most people, they don't have like access to a mentor. What they do is like this thing that we are doing here. We are creating content. They will read it for free.
Yeah.
And
Well,
do
but
you
we've
think
all
there's a
got
way to
contacts.
bypass that?
We've all got, well, first let me say that we've all got contact connections with friends, family, other writers, people that we can show our copy to that can tell us if it's boring, if we give them permission. But you have to really give them permission, right? Tell me what's wrong with this, right? Don't just say, do you like this? Of course, they're going to say, yes, I love this. You're a great writer. You're a great person. I love you,
Yeah.
right? But say, look, I really want your help. I want you to tell me where this is boring. Tell me where you don't believe it. Tell me where, point out those spots so they know there are spots, right? They don't have to feel guilty if they, tell me where you stopped reading, right? Does the opening, suck you in, right? You got to really give people permission to be frank with you.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
I think to answer your question, just take your copy, right? And put it side by side with some copy that is interesting. What is it doing that yours isn't, right? I mean, just from a feeling point of view, what are the feelings that it evokes? From a syntax point of view, does it use more verbs than you do? Do you use the passive tense more, right? Whereas the good copy uses active verbs, right? Had to smash through profits and, plunk, customers up from their boots,
Yeah.
what is it that it's doing, right? And is mine not doing that, right? Like everything that it's doing, look and see if yours is doing it, because it probably isn't. Like, oh, it's using colorful words. Oh, it's bringing in current events. Does mine do that? No.
Yeah.
It does, run it through Hemingway app. Um, and see, oh, this is on a 5th grade level. Mine's on a 12th grade level. Maybe that's a hint.
Of course.
You know, if you're going to do it on your own, you got to be a real detective with your stuff. You got to really be Columbo. You got to really be, CSI, and investigate.
Yeah.
Like, you look with like Sherlock Holmes with the magnifying glass.
Yeah.
You got to look for fingerprints. You got to look for clues.
One thing that I would also recommend is that people just get the copy and read it out loud, because if you do it, then you will start to find some mistakes. And do you
Sure.
think that's a good thing to do too?
Oh, that's a great thing to do. You read it out loud, have someone read it out loud to you, right?
Yeah.
Or read it out, have the computer read it out loud to you, because now the computer can do that.
Yeah.
Or if someone reads it out loud to you, and see where you get bored. See, I think the biggest thing is people don't read their own copy or listen to their own copy as if they're not the writer, right? As if they're the prospect. Because if you become the prospect, if you detach from that you've written it, right? You can see where it's boring. You know what's boring, right?
Yeah, of course.
Just like your copy can be boring, right? You can tell.
Sometimes,
And so you
at least in my experience, sometimes it's a little bit difficult, especially if you're like writing for a few days. But if you just leave the copy there for maybe 1 or 2 days, go do something else, and
Yeah.
then you'll have a new look at it, you will always find stuff that is boring. Opa, desculpa interromper aqui o teu podcast, tá? Eu só queria te dar uma mensagem aqui super rápida. Cara, se tu tem um vídeo de vendas, então tu precisa hospedar esse vídeo aqui no VTurb. O VTurb é não só a melhor hospedagem de vídeo de vendas do Brasil, mas também do mundo inteiro, e ele vai, sem dúvida alguma, aumentar a tua conversão. Então tem um link, tá, aqui embaixo nos comentários aqui, e aí tu pode ir ali, clicar ali e já criar tua conta do VTurb. Tu vai receber daí um treinamento pra tu fazer isso, e tu vai poder aumentar a conversão do teu vídeo de vendas ainda hoje, tá, pessoal? Então, cara, clica aqui embaixo, faça tua conta no VTurb e te espero lá. Valeu e bom podcast. But David, besides boring, do you do some sort of some other review with your copy that you think that people should also do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's AWAI or, Agora from Mark Ford and all those people have got that cub thing, right? Is the copy confusing, unclear, boring? Oh,
Yeah.
confusing, unbelievable,
Confusing,
right?
unbelievable, and boring.
And
Exactly.
boring. Yeah.
The book is Copy Logic.
Yeah, copy logic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the basic things that you look for. To me, a big thing is proof, right? I think copy just has to not be believable. It's got to be believable beyond the shadow of a doubt,
Yeah.
right? It's got to be stand up in court, proven, believable, because that's, where trust comes from. That's, if a study is from Harvard, if all your statements are backed up by proof,
Yeah.
you can make big claims, but if you make big claims and there's no proof behind it, why should I believe you? Why should I believe that you can make me $1 million or
Yeah.
that your software is going to help my VSLs do better? I'm not going to believe that, except I know you now and like you, so I'll believe you. But, until you show me, okay, these customers, look what they say, right? Look
Yeah.
at this graph. Look, this is before they put it on my platform. This is after they put it on my platform, right?
Yeah.
Now I go, oh, that's, a lot more believable now.
This
I
thing
better
that
look into
you're
this.
this thing that you're saying right now, in my 10 years of copywriting, I think that that's the biggest lesson that I learned. And I first heard this thing from Gary Bensivenga. He
Mhm.
said that proof is the alpha and omega of your sales message. Is the most important thing. And one really good tip that he said is that when you're going to create an offer, don't try to find like a random offer. Try to find one that already has a proof element built in
Yeah.
out of it,
Yeah.
because then it's just way easier to prove to people that this offer works. So for example, you're selling a skincare like supplement. It's easier to sell collagen than to sell vitamin C, because collagen just has way more proof that you can use in your sales message. And when I learned that, crazy. My game changed. Uh, that's how I got like to 50 million sold. That's how I grew my
Wow.
company to 70 people, because I got to figure out all this like hidden persuasion in the proof elements. So every time that I'm writing a copy, I just think, is this believable? Can I add proof? And then I go line by line, just adding proof after proof
Mhm.
after proof after proof. And Gary Vaynerchuk, he even recommended a book. The book, it's called Win Your Case. I think that it's by, I think maybe Gary Spence. I don't remember it.
Yep.
It's
That's
from a
exactly.
lawyer. Yeah.
Yep.
In the book, he says that he never lost a case. And then I said, okay, if Gary Vaynerchuk is recommending it, then I'll read it, of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, so everyone that is reading, just add more proof to your videos, your copy. At least it worked for me. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to do it, right? Just go through it. Can I add proof here? Can I add proof? Even if you say something that's not even related to your product, but is related to, like, if you say, okay, your skin needs vitamin C, right, in order to be healthy, right? Well, prove that, right?
Of course. Yeah.
That's not saying anything about your product directly, but it's still, they need to believe that in order to believe your product's going to work, because your product has vitamin C.
Yeah, of course. David, I have one last question. And this question, actually, I have two last questions. So yeah.
They can't both be last
Yeah.
questions.
I have one question and then I have the last question.
Okay.
So
You know, a word I learned from Jim Rutz, which is such a great word, penultimate.
penultimate,
First
exactly.
comes the penultimate question, then comes the ultimate last question.
Yeah. We actually use this quite often here in Brazil. We call it penúltima, which
Oh, yeah.
that's a
Wow.
very common thing that people say it here. Yeah, so that's we already know that, like, almost anyone in Brazil, they use these words, very common here.
That's funny. It's not that common here.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. Yeah, these cultural differences, it's nice. I like it. But yeah, so the oh, I don't know how to say it.
Right. Penultimate.
Penultimate. The
Right.
penultimate question is, what do you think is like the perfect, like, book stack or books that people should study when it comes to learning copy? If you could name, like, hey, study these 3 or 4 or maybe 5 books, I don't know. And then it is like the 80/20, the important things that you really need to master when it comes to copywriting.
I'll answer that in two ways. One is the copywriting books, right? And the copywriting books are starting with Hopkins, Claude
Yeah.
Hopkins books, David Ogilvy's books, John Capel's books, and Victor Schwab's book, How to Write a Good Advertisement,
Yeah.
and Gene Schwartz, Breakthrough Advertising and Brilliance Breakthrough. But I think you want to also read books that aren't about copywriting. I think you also want to read, like you said, Gary Spence, How to Argue and Win Every Time, or whatever the title of that is.
Yeah.
You want to read books about story. You want to read books about screenwriting, because good screenwriting, quickest way to be a better copywriter is to learn screenwriting, because that's how you learn how to show and not tell. That's how you learn how to tell stories. That's how you learn how to keep people on the edge of their seats.
Yeah. Do you
Plus,
recommend any book about this?
Sid Fields, Sydfields, has a good book called The Screenplay or something like that. John McKee's books are
Yeah.
kind of a story. One of them is called Story. And then, of course, the cat one.
Yeah, I only know this one, the one about the cat, or there's a cat in the cover of the book, but I don't remember
Yeah,
the name.
yeah. It's
But yeah,
how to,
there is a cat over there.
what to do with a dead cat or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just Google cat and screenwriting, and you'll
Yeah.
find. But yeah, I mean, that's so huge, especially today. because so much of what we do today is screenwriting. We're writing for the screen. We're writing for, VSLs. We're doing videos.
Yeah.
So, learn those techniques. You want to read Cialdini's book on influence, which
That's
really
a great book.
teaches you, how to influence people. And then Eric Hoffer, True Believers or something like that, The True Believer, which is about mass psychology.
This one, I don't know. Is it good? I mean, it is, right? You
Oh, it's
recommend
great.
it.
It's a great. You'll just understand so much about people
Mm.
from reading that book. Let me know if you have trouble finding it. I can
Oh,
look
don't
it up.
worry. Yeah, I'll find it. Do you know the book? I mean, I don't know if it's a book or it's an actual course, but the name of it is Quick Start Copywriting System. It is by Tony Flores and Clayton Makepeace. Have you
Sure.
heard of it?
It's right up there.
You
Yeah.
have it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because to me, that's like the very best book when it comes to just teaching like copy in a step-by-step process.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you read, for example, Gene Schwartz, it's amazing. You get to know the awareness of the market, the sophistication level of the market, and all that kind of stuff. But it's like you learn all these concepts, but it's hard to translate that to an actual writing. So to me, I really like the Quick Start Copywriting System because it's like step by step. And as an engineer, I just like it, checklist
Yes.
and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Do you like it too, or do you think that there are like
No, I
better
like
ones?
it. I love
Yeah.
Clayton and Tony. I know Tony too. I know Tony now. Clayton's no longer with us, unfortunately, but
Yes.
yeah, that's a great course. I'm so grateful that Clayton passed on his wisdom about copywriting.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Um,
Really, really grateful for that.
yeah, I mean, he's got a wonderful. We talk about style and voice, the emotionality in Clayton's copy.
Yeah.
You really want to be able to look at copy and say who wrote it,
Mm.
right? You want to be able to see the fingerprints of someone, right? Jim Rutz has certain fingerprints in his copy. He uses big words. He talks to a very high level of intelligence. Gary Halbert uses simple words, talks to, simple. Anyone can understand it. And it's very, so compelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clayton's copy is full of emotion. Those fat cats are out to get us, the drug companies, and you need this. And it's great, right? But it's very smart at the same time.
Yeah. I think I can see the identification of the copywriter. How do you say it? The blueprint? No,
Oh, the fingerprints.
the fingerprint. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I think I can see the fingerprint of Gary Halbert and Gary Bencivenga because Bencivenga has like all this lots of proofs and like some really strong ideas, and Gary Halbert always has like all this very simple copy and always some twist, some interesting elements that he uses some
Yes.
emotional elements.
Yeah.
Like the skincare secret that models don't want you to know about, like that sort of
Right,
stuff.
right.
Yeah, I
Or
really like it.
swears under oath that there's no illegal
Exactly.
sexual stimulants. What great.
Exactly. Yeah. David, so as the last question, I would like to ask you, where do you think that people can go to learn from you more, to get to know your stuff? I know that you offer coaching to some of the best direct response companies today. And actually, my biggest clients on Viterb, they told me that their copy chief, they sometimes do some mentorings with you or with other high level copywriters. So I think it's really important for people right now to study with the masters like you. So where do you think that people can go to do that and to improve their copy, improve their businesses?
Well, they can certainly go to my website, which is speakingofwriting.com.
Yeah. It will appear here on the
Speakingofwriting.com.
screen, guys, speakingofwriting.com.
Yes. Put it on the screen. Put it big.
Yeah, it will be there. And it will also be on the first comment There will be a post there with the link, so you can go there to the first post too and click on it. And go ahead, David.
And they can get some free stuff. There's 2 free reports, one on copywriting and one on creativity, coming up with ideas, which I think is huge. And also find out about the coaching that I do for companies, as well as for, individual copywriters that want to like really leap to that next level as quickly as possible. And then I've got a course on copywriting and a course on creativity and coming up with ideas. So
Awesome. And what do you think that, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I really think the best deal is the group coaching, because it's like $97 a month, and you get to submit copy that I go over on the calls. And like we were talking about before, there's nothing like that in terms of, well, there is something like that, which is one-on-one coaching. But to be able to get your copy looked at like that by a high-level copywriter is just can be a life-changing experience, really. I mean, I know it was for me whenever John Carlton would look at my copy, or someone would look at my copy, or Jim Rutz. It's because it's kind of like you don't see things about your own copy. We're kind of blind to what we do. We get in ruts, and you really need someone to kind of kick you out of that rut. So
yeah, if you can just change sometimes even a word in your headline, for example, you can increase your conversion by 30-40%. So the ROI, it's pretty clear.
Oh yeah,
you pay just $97 per month, and if you have like any VSL that is doing at least, I don't know, maybe 10K a month, it's already worth for you. And I have clients on Vitor that are doing like millions per month. So if you are one of my clients here in Brazil, you're someone that's running VSLs and you want to, get your copy to the next level, maybe you can join this group coaching, or even better, the one-on-one coaching. And that's it, David. Thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time. Also, now really the last question, are you active on social media? Maybe, I don't know, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube?
Yeah, I'm very active on Twitter because I like the immediate feedback of Twitter.
Yeah.
But so I'm on Twitter. I'm also on LinkedIn, and to
Yeah.
some extent I'm on Facebook
Do you
and
remember?
Instagram.
Do you remember I mean, you don't have to do that. It will appear on the screen, guys, all the handles that you can follow David. It will also be in the comments. And David, I would like to give you now a little time just so you could just say some last words to the audience, maybe just give some advice, or just say goodbye, or just whatever you want. You can say it now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is that it's not all about formulas. It's not all about copy hacks. It's not all about templates. It's about getting in touch with your own inner ability to persuade, right? Because we're all very persuasive when we want to convince our partner to go to a certain restaurant, see a certain movie, whatever it is. Like, we know how to persuade people, but somehow when we sit down to write copy, we have all these thoughts in our head about, oh, I've got to do this and I got to do this, and oh, it's not your fault, and this is a killer, whatever. And we lose touch with our own ability to be persuasive. And when you read Gary Halbert's copy and Gary Bencivenga's copy and Clayton Makepeace's copy, it's not like they knew all these copy hacks and tricks and things like that, right? You can't look at it and go, oh yeah, I see he's using this trick and he's using this trick. They just were in touch with how persuasive they could be, right? And they're all very naturally persuasive people. So it's great to learn copy tricks and templates and techniques and stuff, because they come in handy, especially when you're editing, when you don't know what to write. Like, oh, I need to make them feel it's not their fault, or whatever it is. But I think you also need to be able to kind of go beyond that.
Yeah.
If you want to get to that next level of copywriting and persuasiveness.
Got it.
That's what I try to show people how to do.
Yeah, that really is the next level, because it's harder to do. It's easy to just follow like templates and you use these copy hacks. That's why most people, they do it. It's harder to actually, be persuasive, be yourself, get in touch with the customer. But yeah,
It's
thanks
hard
for that.
it's hard in a way, but it's also easier in a way because it's a lot to remember a million copywriting formulas and templates of what do I do now and how do I open and should I do this and then what do I do here? You know what I mean? But if you're just naturally persuasive, the copy just kind of writes itself in a certain way. Just
Yeah.
like you don't have to, when you want to convince, a group of people to go to this restaurant or that restaurant, you don't have to like agonize about, oh, what should I say? Should I say, oh, it's great food or it's great ambiance or it's this or, you know what I mean? You just
Yes.
say it. And copy needs to be like that too. It shouldn't sound labored over. It should sound like you're just saying it.
Yeah.
And I think when you read Gary Halbert's copy and Gary Benzavenga's copy, it does, have that naturalness to it.
Of course, I agree 100%. Yeah, that's awesome. But David, thank you so much. And guys, this was another podcast, another Vitor podcast. I hope you like it and see you. Cara, muito obrigado aí por ter assistido aqui mais um episódio de Segredos da Escala. Se tu gostou do episódio, não se esquece, tá, de curtir aqui esse episódio, de se inscrever no canal do VTurb pra tu receber aí mais episódios aí na tua caixa de entrada. Isso é muito importante pra gente e se tu fizer isso, eu te garanto, tá, que eu vou trazer os melhores convidados aqui pra passar conteúdo pra ti, beleza? E se tu tá procurando aí mais episódios aí pra assistir, cara, eu vou deixar 2 episódios aqui, tá, em algum lugar aqui da tela aqui, dos Segredos da Escala pra tu ver. Então clica ali, vê eles, tá, assiste também, vale a pena. Grande abraço e até mais.